Elon Musk went on Joe Rogan's podcast and decided to weigh in on the Atlas debate. And honestly, the billionaire rocket scientist just got schooled by a Harvard professor. Let me explain the drama and why this matters for whether we're looking at alien technology. During the podcast, Elon made a claim about Atlas's unusual nickel signature. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, that natural asteroids can be rich in nickel. No big deal. Nothing unusual about finding nickel in space rocks. And you know what? Elon's technically correct. Asteroids do contain nickel, sometimes lots of it. SpaceX's boss knows his space materials. But here's the problem. Elon completely missed the point Avi Loeb was making. And Loeb responded, not with a tweet, but with actual calculations and peer-reviewed analysis. Because that's how science works. Let me break down why Elon's comment doesn't address the Atlas anomaly. Yes, asteroids are rich in nickel, but asteroids are also rich in iron. Nickel and iron appear together in space rocks, always. They're like cosmic best friends. You find one, you find the other. In fact, the nickel-to-iron ratio in natural solar system objects follows a predictable pattern called chondritic ratios. It's consistent across asteroids, meteorites, and planetary cores. Atlas breaks that pattern completely. Atlas's gas plume contains much more nickel than iron. The ratio is orders of magnitude off from any known natural comet or asteroid. On Earth, this specific metal signature appears only in controlled industrial processes, specifically in alloy production through the carbonyl process. And here's the kicker that Loeb pointed out in his response. Most of the gas around Atlas is carbon dioxide, not rock, not metal, CO2 gas. The numbers are striking. Atlas is releasing about 150 kilograms of material per second. Of that, only 5 grams per second is nickel. That's a tiny fraction, about 1 part in 30,000 by mass. So we're not talking about a solid nickel-rich asteroid. We're talking about a mostly gas object with trace amounts of nickel and almost no iron, in proportions that don't match any natural process. Asteroids are solid rock with nickel and iron locked together in predictable ratios. Atlas is a gas cloud with nickel, but virtually no iron in completely wrong proportions. See the difference? Elon's comment would make sense if we were analyzing a metallic asteroid. But Atlas isn't an asteroid. It's exhibiting cometary activity, releasing gas. And that gas has a metal signature that screams industrial process. Now, here's where it gets spicy. On that same Joe Rogan podcast, Elon made another interesting statement. He said if he ever gets credible information about alien life or technology, he'd break the news live on Rogan's show. Bold claim, very Elon. But maybe, just maybe, he should spend less time promising to break alien news and more time reading the peer-reviewed papers about the anomalous object currently in our solar system. Because Avi Loeb isn't speculating on Twitter, he's publishing calculations, analyzing spectroscopic data, and working with international observatories to gather evidence. Loeb has written 11 scientific papers on Atlas in recent months, 11 peer-reviewed, data-driven, rigorous. Elon made one comment on a podcast, and look, I respect Elon. SpaceX is revolutionary, Starship is incredible. The man knows rockets and engineering. But knowing how to build rockets doesn't make you an expert on interstellar object composition and cometary spectroscopy. This is why peer review exists. This is why we don't do science by podcast. When Elon says asteroids can have nickel, he's right but irrelevant. When Loeb says the nickel-to-iron ratio in Atlas matches industrial processes, not natural asteroids, he's addressing the actual anomaly with actual data. So who's right? Loeb, unequivocally. Not because he's at Harvard, not because he has more papers, but because he's addressing what's actually anomalous about Atlas. And Elon isn't. The nickel mystery remains. the industrial signature persists. And no amount of asteroids have nickel changes the fact that Atlas's metal ratios don't match any known natural object. If Elon wants to break alien news on Rogan, maybe he should start by reading the Atlas papers. Because the evidence is building. Yeah, the anomalies are piling up. And podcast hot takes aren't peer review. Science isn't decided by who has the biggest platform. It's decided by data. And the data says Atlas's nickel signature is unprecedented. Elon, if you're watching, call Avi. Read the papers. Then come back on Rogan with an informed take. Until then, Advantage, Harvard professor.